So Snoop Dogg was involved in a hostage situation, and it somehow connects to the song Peanut Butter Jelly Time?
Snoop Dogg never expected his phone to ring in the middle of the night with police at his door. But on that strange night in 2002, reality turned into a nightmare. This wasn't about music. This wasn't about fame. It was about family and life or death.
Jermaine is 29, living in Las Vegas, and we don't know much about him other than what happens to him on this night. So on this night in 2002, for some reason, he goes absolutely insane. Because he's out on the town doing something, and he ends up confronting this random bystander for some reason.
Jermaine wasn't famous. Most people had never heard his name. But that changed overnight. He was just a regular guy living in Las Vegas. Or so it seemed. We don't know what pushed him over the edge. No mental health records were released. No friends came forward with a warning. But something snapped. And when it did, he lost all control. The first victim of the night was a complete stranger. Jermaine confronted him out of nowhere. He was angry, shouting, and then he fired his weapon. Luckily, the man escaped unharmed. But the damage was done. That one moment set off a chain reaction that would bring an entire city to a standstill.
And after a bit, he spots him near a bus stop. So he gets out and he approaches him, and he knows he's armed. And so he's like, "You're being detained." And the officer grabs him and they get into some kind of fight and they struggle. And then, boom, Jermaine pulls out the pew-pew and blam, blam, he fires it. And one bullet flies through the air and it...
After the bystander escaped, he found a police officer nearby. "There's a man shooting," he said. The officer took the call seriously. Within minutes, he found Jermaine. What happened next was chaos. Jermaine didn't back down. He didn't drop the weapon. He fought the cop and then shot him. A bullet to the head, a bullet to the chest. The officer was lucky to survive. The vest saved his life. Another officer arrived, and he was also shot at. The bullet hit his uniform but didn't injure him. Still, this wasn't a normal arrest anymore. This was now a high-risk armed crisis. Jermaine fled the scene. He ran into a random apartment building, picked a unit, and forced his way inside. 2 innocent men were in there, just going about their day. Now, they were hostages. They must have been terrified. A gun in their face. Their apartment turned into a war zone. Jermaine wasn't thinking straight. He barricaded the door with furniture, trapping everyone inside. Outside, police surrounded the building. SWAT rolled in. Snipers were positioned, people were evacuated, officers knocked on every door. "Get out now!" they shouted. The entire complex was cleared. Inside, Jermaine wasn't giving up. He refused to come out. He didn't trust the cops. Maybe he thought he could escape. Maybe he thought someone could help him. That's when he found the phone. He didn't call 911. He didn't call a lawyer. He called the news. And he told them, "I want to talk to my brother-in-law. I want to talk to Snoop Dogg." The media couldn't believe it. The police couldn't believe it. But it was true. Snoop Dogg's sister was married to Jermaine, and now Snoop was being asked to save him. The call went through departments, Las Vegas to Los Angeles. Finally, LAPD showed up at Snoop's house in the middle of the night. "Mr. Dogg," they said, "your brother-in-law shot a cop, took hostages, and he wants to talk to you." Snoop didn't run. He didn't hide. He stepped up. He agreed to help. He recorded a message. It was calm. "Director, do what they say," he told Jermaine. "We've got lawyers. We'll take care of this." That message was sent to Las Vegas, played loud for Jermaine to hear. But it wasn't enough. Jermaine didn't react. He didn't respond. Maybe he was too far gone. Maybe he didn't believe it. Hours passed. Then a twist. Jermaine left the room. Maybe he was distracted. Maybe he was thirsty. But in that moment, the hostages saw their chance.
And he barricades the front door with a bunch of furniture so that no one can get in. And pretty quickly, police figure out where he is, and they send in a SWAT team. And so now they've got the place surrounded, and it's a whole scene. And police, they go around beating on every door, telling everyone to get out, because they've got to evacuate the whole building until they can apprehend this crazy man.
They jumped out the window and ran. They were free. Now police knew they could move in without risking more innocent lives. They waited a little longer, hoping Jermaine would surrender. But he didn't. He fired more shots from inside. The situation was collapsing. SWAT stormed the apartment. Jermaine had locked himself in the bathroom. Tear gas was fired. Flashbangs were thrown. Officers tried everything. They didn't want to kill him. They wanted to bring him out alive. But he made his choice. One last gunshot echoed from the bathroom. Jermaine was dead. The crisis was over. Then came the internet rumors. The myth, the lie. People said Jermaine was the man behind the song Peanut Butter Jelly Time, that he sang it, that he went crazy after going viral, that he called Snoop for help. None of that was true. Yes, he was Snoop Dogg's brother-in-law. Yes, he caused a hostage situation, but he had nothing to do with that song. He didn't sing it. He wasn't in the group. It was just another internet rumor that took on a life of its own. But the real story? It didn't need lies. It didn't need a soundtrack. It was already too real. A man lost control. 2 officers nearly died. 2 civilians were held hostage. And one of the most famous rappers in the world was dragged into it. Not by choice, but by blood. Jermaine's life ended in that bathroom, but the shock of what happened still lingers. To this day, most people have never heard this story. They know Snoop Dogg, the rapper, the entertainer, the cannabis king. But they don't know that he once had to step in during a deadly crisis. And for a moment, try to imagine being Snoop. It's 2 a.m. You're probably just watching TV or relaxing. And then police show up at your house asking you to save a man with a gun because he's your family. Snoop recorded that message. He tried to help. But sometimes, even the biggest names can't stop the worst from happening. It's one of those stories that sounds fake, like a movie. But it happened. Every bit of it. Real bullets, real lives, real tragedy. And it all ended with a call to Snoop Dogg. This story is more than just a shocking headline. It's a look at how quickly life can spiral out of control. One moment, Jermaine was a regular guy in Las Vegas. The next, he was holding 2 innocent men hostage, facing down the police and calling one of the most famous rappers in the world for help. We often think celebrities live in a different world, that they're untouched by real problems. But this brought the chaos right to Snoop Dogg's front door. And it showed us that fame doesn't protect you from tragedy, especially when it hits close to home. Snoop didn't ask to be involved, but when the police showed up at his house, he did what he could. He sent a message, he offered support. He tried to calm his brother-in-law down. But sometimes, even doing everything right just isn't enough. In the end, it was too late. And what's left is a story filled with gunfire, fear, confusion, and heartbreak. So the next time you see a wild story go viral, remember, there's always more beneath the surface. Real people, real pain, and sometimes real lives lost. If you found this story shocking, disturbing, or just unbelievable, hit that like button. Share it with someone who thinks they've heard it all. And subscribe for more jaw-dropping true stories that most people don't know. Leave a comment below.